Welcome back to Something You Can Do, a podcast for those hungry for action steps. I'm your host, KJ Kozak. Let's get into it. To some people, it's a luxury, and to others, it's a necessity. Something you can do is get your nails done. Today, we're going to be talking specifically about salon manicures. And there's so much more that we could talk about in the world of nails. We could talk about doing your nails by yourself at home. We could talk about pedicures, but I wanted to talk specifically about manicures because there's so much information to wade through. And growing up, it was something that I did only occasionally, in part because there were so many concerns about like hygiene. How do you find a clean place? Is it really worth it? Why would you even get your nails done in the first place? So I then had a little bit of a realization, actually, when I was in college. I worked for a summer for a family law attorney, and she always had a set of acrylic nails in a French manicure. And if you don't know, acrylic nails are a nail extension, so it's a professionally installed fake nail. And a French manicure is when you have a pinkish base that kind of is closer to the color of your nail naturally with the white tips. And it always looked very clean and fresh and sharp. And at one point we were talking about it, and she said that the reason why she always had her nails done that way is because as a family law attorney, she oftentimes had to go into court for divorce proceedings or custody hearings and really needed to look professional as the lawyer. And working with paper as much as she does as a lawyer, you still have to print out all of your court paperwork and stuff. And she's working with folders, and it's actually really rough on your fingers and your nails. It can dry out your fingers. It can make it easier to chip a manicure. And so for her, it was very functional. It was part of her professional presentation. It was part of maintaining her nail health to get her nails done in this way. It was the first time that I'd heard of it as being something more than just something that people spent money on. And that's not even getting into the rich history of women of color getting their nails done as a particular form of creative self-expression. So this episode's going to provide some info about the different types of manicures, different types of nail extensions that you might get professionally installed, and a little bit of orienting you to what to expect in a nail salon and how to pick a place and a style for yourself if this is something that's really felt out of reach. And again, as I always have a disclaimer, I'm not a nail technician. I don't know that much about doing nails, except that I've had to wade through a lot of information myself. And, my credentials are that I've been getting a set of UV gel extensions for about 6 months now. And I'll talk a little bit more about that experience later on in this episode. It's something that I have found to be really useful, just like that attorney I was talking about. It helps me feel put together and worry less about, are my nails breaking or chipping. So, why would you get a salon manicure, aside from all of the reasons that I just talked about? Well, some people really like it to help maintain their nail health. It can be really difficult to do your own nails at home, and there are some great resources. That could be another episode in the future. But especially if you have any issues with dexterity, because to do your nails at some point, you're going to have to use your non-dominant hand to trim and file, and if you want to paint the nails on your dominant hand. And that can be really complicated and challenging and require gross, fine motor skills and dexterity that not all of us have. And some people have nails that are just a little bit more difficult to take care of, that require a little bit more consistent support to keep from breaking or splitting or chipping or anything like that. It also is a form of creative self-expression. It can look cute. It can look nice to have your nails done, to have them, trimmed and filed and looking uniform, and can be a form of self-expression if you are painting or decorating or getting funky extensions and things like that. Some people don't use nail polish or anything on their nails for religious reasons. And even then, will still spend a lot of time on their nail health and hygiene, keeping them neat and trimmed. So it can be really fun to have long, claws, to have long nails that go click clack, when you tap them on things. And I won't do that here because this is not an ASMR podcast. And I absolutely hate that sound when I'm hearing it in a recording. But it just can be something fun about yourself that helps you feel more yourself. Getting your nails done in a salon can also be a form of self-care. There's the mindful aspect of being in a salon. When someone's doing your nails, you can't really use your hands. So, unless you're in one of those salons where they have like a little phone holders, you can be scrolling with one hand while they're working on the other. But even then, there's really nothing else to do except for sit and be present. Maybe talk to the nail technician, maybe people watch, but generally it's 45 minutes to 2 hours, depending on your service, where you're just relaxing. You're just there. It also can be an opportunity to pamper yourself if you're going to a spa or somewhere really nice. And it also, just more generally, is self care when you are taking care of your hands and your nails. So, how can you get a salon manicure? Well, as I mentioned at the top of the episode, there's so much information out there that can be so difficult to sift through. And when I was doing research myself, trying to figure out what type of nails I wanted to do, because I wanted to treat myself, all of the websites and articles are SEO clickbait garbage that are just from salons that, or nail technician schools or whatever, that are writing things because they know that you're Googling key terms and then it'll take you to their website. And it's impossible. It's ridiculous. So I'm going to try and break it down, some of the major options that are out there. And if you're a nail technician and there's other information I'm missing, please comment, share. I want to hear from you. Make this an even better resource for people. But here are the general steps. You need to figure out what you want. You need to find a salon and technician. You need to book an appointment and show up and enjoy. So let me get even deeper into all of those things. First, figure out what it is that you want. You might have a specific design in mind. You might have a specific reason to get your nails done. When I was getting married, we do have a nail technician who is basically, she's a family friend. Shout out to Molly. And she did my nails using soft gel extensions. So I will talk about what that means, but basically they're nail extensions because I wanted something that made my nails look really elegant and that would accommodate a really nice design that my natural nail just was not long enough or strong enough to do. So that's what I wanted, and she was able to bring that to life. Actually, it was all her idea. When we go to Molly, we have no ideas. She makes all the she calls all the shots. But you can look on Pinterest or other social media platforms for some inspiration and thinking about the shape and the length and how complicated do you want it? Do you want something really plain and simple? Is there a particular occasion? Are you looking for just a one-off sort of, I want to go get my nails done just to treat myself versus do I want to invest in a regular style? Thinking about shapes and length, it can be really useful to just look up, honestly, just go to Pinterest and Google nails, manicures. You'll get all sorts of things and then be able to start from there to see what you like, what you're interested in. And if you look up nail shapes, like literally like Google Images nail shapes, you'll get charts that show the different shapes and what they're called. So like coffin, almond, all of that kind of thing is really useful because then when you walk in or you're booking an appointment, you can say, I want, a coffin shape, medium with whatever type of design. And even just oftentimes, if you just show your technician a photo on Pinterest, they'll be able to help you. So once you've started to think about that, then you have to get into the question of, are you going to get a manicure on your natural nail or do you want to invest in nail extensions? So I'm going to break down some of the options here. Let's start with natural nails. This is where they're going to trim, file, and shape your nails and then apply nail polish if you want. If you just get like a clear coat, like a top coat and no color, that's oftentimes called like a bare manicure or a naked manicure, although you don't have to say that. You can just say, I don't want color. These options tend to be really low commitment, less expensive, and have the lowest risk to your nail health if you're just going in and getting a manicure on your natural nail. So you might choose this if you don't go for regular manicures, or if you don't need a fancy shape or style, or if you have particularly weak or sensitive nails, or if you have a lower budget. So a regular manicure, that's what you'll see on the salon menu, uses nail polish like what you would find in a drugstore. It typically lasts about a week before peeling or chipping, and it's typically $20 to $40, takes about an hour. All of that, obviously, your mileage may vary depending on where you are and what type of salon you go to, but that's kind of the most basic. And sometimes there will be add-ons, additional, arm massage or fancier lotions or whatever. A gel manicure uses a special nail polish that cures under a UV light. And this tends to be a little bit sturdier. It lasts about 2 weeks before it peels or chips, and it costs about $35 to $60. So it's going to be more expensive than your regular manicure. Most things about the service are exactly the same, except they're using a different type of nail polish. It's a little bit thicker, it tends to be a little bit shinier, but it's also a lot sturdier and more like it lasts longer. There's also dip manicures. So dip powder is something that got really popular a couple of years ago. It uses a tub of colored powder that you dip your nail into or is dusted over your nail, and it hardens into a more durable style. You'll sometimes also see this called an SNS manicure. There's some hygiene concerns because of the cross-contamination of people sticking their fingers into a tub of powder, and it hasn't caught on everywhere. So that's just something to be aware of. You want to ask if they dust the powder instead of dipping, just for hygiene purposes. But those are more or less your options in terms of a manicure on your natural nail. Again, it's low commitment, right? Like you can go and get your nails done and then never go back again. Regular nail polish will just peel or chip off, or you can remove it using nail polish remover. A gel manicure, the gel can damage your natural nail if you peel it off. So you want to make sure that you either go back to the salon to have them take it off, or that you soak your nails in acetone. You can just look up how to remove a gel manicure to be able to do that safely. So then you can get a set of artificial nails. This is where things can get super confusing because there are just so many different options and it's a little bit unclear what they all mean. You might choose one of these options if you want a style or shape that doesn't work well with your natural nail. So again, with my wedding, like I had short, stubby fingernails, and having something else that made them look a little more elegant was really lovely. This also can be nice if your natural nails break or split easily. It can actually be protective to your natural nail to have something else on top of it. And this also, you have to be ready to commit to regular upkeep. This isn't something where you can just go get a set of acrylics and then be done. The three major options here for in the salon are acrylics, hard gel, which is also called UV gel, and soft gel or Gel X extensions. So acrylics are like the classic artificial nail that are made by mixing a monomer and a polymer that dries when exposed to air. So the nail technician might use a little form that's glued to your nail and then mold the acrylic over it, or they might just freehand the acrylic onto your nail to get a general shape. And they will then file down the acrylic to the desired length and shape and then paint over it or create your design. So it can look a little bit bulkier before they shape it, but it should look, by the time they start decorating, it should have a nice natural looking shape. It can be difficult. So when you're getting an acrylic or another nail extension, it's not gonna be short. It's really difficult to get them to look natural short. So you're typically going to do this if you want a nail that extends kind of far beyond your fingertips. I don't mean like super far, but farther than your natural nail probably typically goes, unless you have really nice, strong natural nails. So acrylics last longer and are more durable than your natural nail, but they can cause damage over time if they aren't applied, maintained, or removed properly. So if you sometimes what can happen is you get gapping as they grow out, where there's little space between the acrylic and the natural nail where moisture or dust or other things can get in, and they can get a little gnarly. So that's why you want to make sure that you take care of your nails by washing your hands well and scrubbing underneath your fingernails and drying them thoroughly, and wearing gloves when you do the dishes and things like that to protect your nails. Actually, you should always do those things, but that can also help increase the longevity of your acrylics. You get what we call a fill-in every 2 to 3 weeks or so, where as the nail grows, the acrylic is there's gonna be a gap between the acrylic and your cuticle, where the nail has grown out. So What they do is they file off or soak off or whatever all of the design, and then they fill in using more acrylic in that gap, and then refile it, reshape it, and give you a new manicure. You'll need a new set occasionally, depending on how your nail tolerates the acrylic. And a new set is where the technician will remove all of the acrylics and then completely start over. And everybody needs this from time to time, just depending on how their nail tolerates the acrylics and how well the acrylics are maintained. So hard gel or UV gel, these are very similar to an acrylic. So with hard gel, a gel is molded over your natural nail. Again, sometimes they'll use a form to make sure that the shape is consistent, and then cure, shape, and paint the nail. So it's cured using a UV lamp. You have to stick your hand into under a UV light, and then they file down the nail to the desired shape and size. So similarly to acrylics, these are much more durable than your natural nail and need to be filled in every 2 to 3 weeks. I should do mine every 2 weeks. I usually go 3 weeks and then I start to regret it a couple days before my appointment. The biggest difference between acrylics and hard gel is in the way that the material is cured and maintained, but the client experience can be very similar. Hard gel can be a little more flexible than the acrylic, and so it might be a little more comfortable and damage your natural nail a little bit less. Some nail technicians will actually recommend using hard gel if you are trying to grow out your natural nail, because this is time where your nail is essentially protected. But because you'll be sticking your hand under a UV light pretty regularly, this option has an increased risk of skin damage. So it's recommended to use SPF on your hands or wear special gloves in order to reduce that risk. The third option is soft gel or Gel X. Those are the ones I mentioned using for my wedding nails. And these are little extensions or fake nails that are adhered to your natural nail and then cured using a little light and then shaped and painted. So these can be super useful when your natural nail is too short or fragile for a desired shape and you want a short-term style. You don't fill in a soft gel manicure, so when the nail grows out, you need a full removal and a new set. These also cure differently than acrylics or hard gel, so it is a little easier for the extensions to become damaged or pop off. So those are some of the options for getting what you would call a full set of extensions. And again, these are basically just fake nails, but they are using science adhered really closely to your nails, and some of them look really natural to the point where you wouldn't necessarily be able to tell unless you knew what you were looking at. So with all of this information and taking some time to consider what it is that you want, what you're ready for, then you need to find a salon and a technician. So some things to consider are your budget. How much time and energy do you want to invest? As I mentioned before, there's a big range of options, right? Like you could spend $20 at a little nail salon just to get a manicure for a one-off. But if you're ready for a more regular investment, which is what I do, you might want to get a full set of extensions, something that is going to require some upkeep, but also potentially have a little bit more of a payoff because they don't chip, they rarely break. You also want to think about the environment that you want to go to, right? If this is something where you're looking for a fancy, luxurious experience, then you might look at going to a day spa or somewhere really nice and fancy if you really care about that type of environment. You might also care more about investing in a complex set of nails that requires a lot more skill from an independent technician who's working out of their house or a studio versus in a nice salon. Cleanliness is something that you always want to pay attention to and research because when people are working with hands, there can be a risk of germs and bacteria and infections. So some things to look out for are places that use disposable files or buffers. So there are some places that when they do a regular manicure or a gel manicure where they're dealing with your natural nail, some places will use mini nail files and little buffers. Those are those little square things that they use to rub on your nail. And they'll give you this, they'll offer it to you to take home with you so that it's a fresh one being used for every single client. Not every place does that. Some places have other hygiene practices around their files and buffers, but you do also want to make sure that they're autoclaving their instruments. So an autoclave is the little machine that you find in a salon or a dentist office where it sanitizes using heat metal instruments. So the cuticle scissors and all of those little things should be coming out of a sealed little like package so that you know that it's sterile and that it came out of an autoclave. You want to look for clean workstations. You want to look for your nail technician's license. Depending on the state, there are different regulations around that, but generally you want to be working with someone who has an esthetician license. So when you book your appointment, you can ask what steps they take to ensure cleanliness and hygiene. And if a place gets weird about that, then you probably don't want to go there. For the most part, places are really happy to talk about the steps that they take, and especially with pedicures because feet are gross. But that's a whole other conversation. The last thing you need to consider when you're thinking about a salon and a technician is skill and proficiency. If you're just going for a regular manicure and you got regular nails and you just want a coat of OPI nail polish, then you don't need to worry about this too much. But anything that gets a little more complicated, if you saw a really cute, Pinterest post of somebody with those nails with little ghosts on them for Halloween, or you want someone to do like a really pretty little firework design, you don't want to assume that any technician can do that. Some of those things do take a lot of skill and artistry, even if they look really simple. So you can look at the online reviews and Instagram portfolio for the salon and the specific technician. Some salon reviews, you'll see like this place is really great and this is the person that you want to work with because they're the one that does this. At the salon that I go to, my nail technician is known for doing really good, like nail extensions and stuff. And there are other, she does really great designs. My nails look so cute, especially I usually just do like a normal one shade, whatever, but for special occasions, I'll get a little design and she does a really good job. And there are some technicians that really do great with that and others that don't. So you just want to make sure and not assume. And you want to check to see if the styles advertised at that salon match what it is that you're looking for, and check whether you need a specific technician for the desired manicure. Again, like if you just want something really simple, like you're going to get a set of acrylics, but you're just going to do like a neutral shade of nail polish, then you don't need to be going to a salon with like cutting edge designs in, acrylic, whatever. But if that is something you're interested in, then you want to shop around a little bit. So now that you've considered all these things, you can book an appointment. You can call the salon or use an online appointment scheduler. A lot of websites will tell you what it is that they prefer, the best way to schedule. And if you don't see the options that you want online, just try calling the salon. Some places do require you to specify the design complexity when you book. So it'll say like, gel manicure simple design is this much, and then gel manicure moderate design is this much. Typically, simple is going to be like a design on one or two nails, and it might be like a little pattern or like one small little thing. When you start to get into like shapes and flowers and stuff like that, that tends to be more like moderate or complicated. It takes more time for the technician to sculpt or paint a design, and that includes a French manicure. So do be aware that if you want a French manicure, that is going to cost you more because that's considered a design, and it can, if you've ever watched somebody do a French manicure, it is not easy. Not everybody can do it well. Designs will have an upcharge, and the technician might try to upsell you during the service. They might say, oh, do you want a design? They're not being fun. They are upselling, which is fine. It's just nice to be aware of that. Specify whether you need a gel polish or extension removal when you book your appointment. So this is usually an add-on service that takes more time and comes with an extra fee. Just be aware that you typically can't get a fill-in for one type of manicure at another salon because you don't want to mix the different type of materials. So that's another thing with the investment, right? Is that if you want to get a set of like hard gel nails, you are committed to going back to that salon to have that manicure kept up with. Whereas if you get a regular manicure or just a regular gel manicure, you can go anywhere. Now that you have booked your appointment, it's time to show up and enjoy. So, when you arrive at the salon, you'll typically be directed to a wall of nail polishes, or you'll be handed a box of display nails to choose your color. So, if you go to the wall of nail polish, you literally take the nail polish off of the shelf and hold it with you, and then hand it to your nail technician. And if you're handed the box of display nails, then you just can either point to the nail, or usually on the back of the nail itself or on the page is a number that corresponds to the nail polish that they can then go find. You can also bring reference pictures or Pinterest inspiration, but do be prepared to be flexible because not every technician can perfectly recreate a reference photo, and the salon might not have the exact shade that you wanted. Do know that if you get a gel manicure on your hands and a regular pedicure on your feet, you probably won't be able to have an exact color match between those two nail polishes that you use because the shades for gel are going to be different from the shades for regular, etc. And clarify ahead of time if you need something specific or need an exact match for something like a wedding party or a costume. You want to make sure, like, don't assume that they're going to have what it is that you need or want. You'll be asked whether you want your nails cut or just filed, and how short you want them, and what shape, or round versus square. Again, just Google nail shapes before you go in so that you have a sense of what it is that you want. It is customary to tip your nail technician, and many people prefer cash. 15 to 20% is standard for tipping for a nail service. Some places will share the Venmo or PayPal information for the nail artists, and some will allow you to tip on a credit card, and others only allow cash. So, the general custom in the United States is that business owners who set their own rates do not need to be tipped, while it's expected to tip professionals who don't set their own rates. So, if you're going to a nail salon and you are being seen by the owner of the nail salon and you know that they're the owner and you know that they set their own rates, then you don't have to tip them. That always feels a little weird and uncomfortable. Same with like an independent nail technician. But you can always just ask. Like, just ask. And don't make assumptions. Again, nail salons all differ in their practices. So don't assume that you're going to be able to Venmo your nail technician because not every place will do that. Although cash is, I have yet to meet anybody who doesn't appreciate a cash tip. So this has been a lot of information and like half an hour of talking about nails and getting your nails done. I have loved getting my nails done. My first set of UV gels was for my honeymoon because I wanted something that was going to look nice and make me feel good and last the 2 weeks that I was away. And I absolutely loved it. It was so nice to be able to have something to just not worry about. Again, like my nails, I'm the type of person where if I get a manicure, it has smudged before I've even left the salon. Like I could smudge my nails just by thinking about it. And so something that I knew was not going to smudge or chip or break was really, it gives me some peace of mind and makes me feel much more put together. And it's just been nice for me to be able to take this time for myself. It's an investment of money and time that I have made and that I probably won't make forever, but has been nice. Now, some other things to think about when you are dealing with nail extensions in particular. If you wear contacts, make sure that you're still going to be able to put in and take out your contacts, because if you now have like funky long nails, that's going to be a lot more complicated. Some people will ask to have like their index fingers shorter, or they won't get extensions on their index fingers or things like that. Your technician should be able to help you figure things out. And the other thing is there is a learning curve around like zipping up zippers and buttons and things like that when you have extensions on your nails. But I have gotten used to it and I've really enjoyed it. If you have any problems with your manicure, it's okay to call and ask. Some places will allow for a complimentary or low-cost correction if your nails break within a day or two of service. So like, If you get a set of acrylics and one breaks like the next day, that means that it wasn't installed properly. And you can typically go back and they will just fix that one nail. And, if you smudge your nails, you typically can go back and have them fix it. You might have to pay a couple of dollars or something, but just call and ask. If it doesn't look right, if the manicure doesn't feel right, like if you are polite and nice about it, they should be able to help you. And if you go, it's so important to build a relationship with your nail technician. If you're not happy with the service you're receiving, try someone else, try somewhere else, because not everybody is going to be at the standard that you want or be able to give you the manicure that makes you happy. So again, if there is something specific or you're noticing that the set of acrylics you have just don't really look good, then you might just need a different technician. And once you get to know your nail technician, they get to know you and your style preferences, and they'll be able to make suggestions about what will work best for your nails. Keep in mind that styles change with the seasons, so it helps a lot to look up, like just Google or go on Pinterest and search nail styles plus the season and year to see what's currently trending. It's also okay if you find a style that works for you and stick to it. Like if you want like those, 2000 style, red acrylic square extensions, go for it. It's all about you and your personal style and what works best for you. So hopefully all of this helps you feel more confident sifting through the many options that are out there and trying something new. You might continue doing your own manicures at home and just loving that. And you might continue just having short, clear, nicely trimmed nails. But if this is something you've been thinking about for a while, hopefully this helps you take the leap, because something you can do is get a salon manicure. And I have loved it, and I hope you will too. Well, you made it to the end of the episode, and I'm proud of you, even if you fell asleep and then just woke up when the music started again. If you liked this episode, please like, share, subscribe, leave a review, all the things you do for your favorite podcasts. And if you didn't like it, that's okay, I forgive you. Remember that this show is called Something You Can Do, not things you must do or should do or will be able to do. It's for entertainment purposes only, and hopefully you learned something. You can find us on Instagram at somethingyoukandopod, or send us an email to sycdpodcast@gmail.com. Either way, I hope that you learned something you can do and that you have a great day.